Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services.
This show focuses on sharing good news and powering the good in our community. Now here's your host, City Current CEO, Jeremy Park.
Welcome to the City Current Show, powered by Higginbotham. I'm your host, Jeremy Park. We're always honored to bring you inspiring stories of individuals and organizations making a difference and powering the good. And that's why we're honored to have with us Earle Schwarz. He's the Executive Director of Intunity, the Housing Foundation of West Tennessee. How are you doing, Earle?
Morning, Jeremy. Thanks for having me. It's going to be a pleasure, and I look forward to our conversation.
Well, you all are doing tremendous good across the Mid-South, so we're going to dive in deep. Let's start with some background. Give us some history for Intunity, the Housing Foundation of West Tennessee.
So the history, Intunity, although we're not terribly well known yet, perhaps you'll solve that in part. The Intunity dates back to 2012, but it dates even further back to the early 1990s. But basically, Intunity is a housing solution for low-income individuals with intellectual disabilities. And as a footnote, we're also looking at expanding our reach into low-income housing for seniors.
When you look at the work that you're doing, go ahead and talk about the importance, because I think when you think about affordable housing, and really we'll talk even more about kind of where you're headed with these, building new homes, technology, obviously the access, but so much of it is independence. So talk about the importance of your work.
Well, thanks. And historically, this community of very marginalized individuals has been, initially, institutionalization was considered to be the solution for folks who can't function at a normal level in society. So that has changed, and the approach now, certainly the best approach, is to have folks with intellectual disabilities the opportunity to live full and complete lives in a typical or a normal house. And our houses are all single family homes, 3 bedrooms, located in desirable neighborhoods, and it's the difference between having your own house. We all know how important it is to have our own house. Well, it's no less important for folks with intellectual and or physical disabilities. It's extremely important. And so the sense of self, the sense of achievement, the sense of independence that we offer to this community is extremely valuable and very important for their own development, social development, intellectual development, and just the joy of being able to live somewhat on their own.
Talk about sourcing the homes, the number of homes, renovations to be able to make sure they're accessible, and then that will lead us into kind of the future of where you're headed. But give us an idea, when you look back and obviously where you are in this moment, how many homes and how you've been able to revitalize them for the individuals.
Sure. So at present, Intunity owns 37 houses. We own 14 in Jackson, Tennessee. We own 23, everybody can do that math, 23 in Memphis. We began acquiring houses not long after we were created in 2011. We began acquiring houses in 2012. And at the time, the program was to buy houses at, hopefully a good price, right? At a fair value. And then more often than not, those houses needed some sort of work. If it was work to make the house, to rehab the house so that it would accommodate physical disabilities, some of that work we funded. A lot of that work was funded by the state of Tennessee through the Department of Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities through their grant program to the tenants. They don't make the grants to us, didn't make the grants to us. Each individual has an allowance, and if they need a modification allowance, and if they need it, the state will provide it. So we were able to, the houses that we added ramps to, for example, modified the bathrooms for roll-in showers, expanded the width of the halls, expanded the width of the doors so that it would be, accessible for folks who are non-ambulatory. A lot of that work was actually funded by the state of Tennessee. But to the extent it wasn't, let's say, for example, a tenant had exhausted their housing, their accommodation allowance, we'd pay for it. It's important to us to make sure that our house suits the needs of the individual.
I know that the future is building new homes. And so talk about where Intunity is headed and tie that into technology, accessibility, and energy efficiency.
Sure. In March of 2023, the board had the wisdom to realize that the cost of existing housing had become way too expensive for us. Even though we're not profit driven in that sense, we still can't buy a house. I'm going to pick these numbers out of the air. We can't buy a house for $400,000 and then turn around and rent it for $800, which is what we do in Memphis, Tennessee. So the cost of housing post-COVID just went crazy, as you know. So recognizing that, the board has adopted a strategic plan, which is also under revision even as we speak. And the theory is that we're going to start building our houses. So we retained the local architect. It used to be Looney Ricks and Kiss. It's now LRK. We retained them to sort of work with us to develop a design for a prototype for a house that would be fully accommodated, barrier-free, utility conscious in the sense that it would be a utility efficient, through design, through materials, through appliances. Just because parenthetically, our tenants not only pay some rent, but they also are responsible for the utilities. And so to the extent that we can keep the overall space cost down, that's what we want to do. So we've designed this house. We've partnered with United Housing here in Memphis, who was kind enough to donate a vacant lot in the Heights community, which is north of Summer between National and Holmes, I believe. But they've donated the lot, and they are going to be the construction manager for the construction of the house. The initial design was created with input from a lot of stakeholders. And we came up with what we thought was a really good design, and it still is a really good design. But then when I was attending a conference of the Tennessee Housing Authority, I was referred to another nonprofit in Franklin, Tennessee, with whom we are partnering. It's called ShareBuild. And their mission is to work with folks like us to provide input and consult with us to allow us to find ways to make the cost, even to reduce the cost of the housing even further. So they looked at the original plan. They came back with some significant suggestions about how to redesign the house. We have incorporated those suggestions. And where we are at the moment is that I have the bid package on my desktop that I'm reviewing. And once we're comfortable that the bid package is ready, United Housing, in the role of construction manager, will then send it out for bid. And we'll see. Jeremy, I got we have our fingers crossed that the numbers that will come back will be manageable. Because if not, then we'll have to, take another look. But we're really excited about this. And I'll just segue from that, if I may. We are in discussions with the state of Tennessee to partner on 2 housing developments. The state is going to provide a substantial amount of money. We're going to raise the rest of the money, and we are going to build, assuming this design works out so that it doesn't cost us $1 million to build a house, we're going to build at least two, as for prototypes, again, two planned unit developments that will be mixed use, in the sense that we'll have houses for folks with intellectual disability and developmental disabilities, and in the same parcel there will be housing for low-income seniors. So we're really excited about that. That contract is being prepared by the state, and we're real close to going to then working on the language of the working on the language of the contract. And then once we've got that in place, then it's all going to fall into place, sort of fall into place at about the same time, where we'll have the design finalized, we'll have some numbers, we'll have a sense of what it's going to cost, and then we may be building more than one house at the same time. We'll see, because this design is universally, it can be used anywhere. I mean, it's the same, just as long as it's adapted to the site, then the concepts are all the same. So those are the two things that are foremost on our plate. And the board, I mean, I have a terrific board. And they're smart, they're involved, they all bring something different to the table, and they're a joy to work with.
Carry that into, when you look at that excitement and your board, carry that into the testimonials and the impact, which then, carries further that excitement. So talk about what this means to those you serve, and then, why all this is so amazing when you look at the future of what it entails.
I think the best way to quantify the value to our folks, what it does for our folks, is that we almost never have a vacancy. Folks live in our houses until something happens, for the most part. And we have providers, several of our board members come from the provider community, and they talk glowingly about how their clients, feel in our houses. And maybe it may be not clear as to what the relationship is between us and the providers, because I haven't talked about it. So if I may, we partner with what are known as providers of residential services. They provide the staff and the clinical services and they provide and their clients are our tenants, is the easiest way to say it. And they provide everything except the house. We provide the house, and we rent those houses at, as I said, $885 for a 3-bedroom house in Memphis, $675 for a 3-bedroom house in Jackson. For folks whose only income, for the most part, is supplemental Social Security, this is a real opportunity to get great housing at a value or an amount that they can afford to pay. So what we provide is the housing at an affordable price. We do what we can to manage the space costs as well, to keep that cost as low as possible to our tenants, the residential providers' clients. And we make sure that the houses are maintained in superior condition.
How can the community help and support Intunity?
We invite them to talk about us. And of course, I mentioned the strategic plan that we adopted. In order to build these houses, we're going to need to raise about $5 million. At least that's our current estimate. So while we're talking to foundations whose missions, align with ours, we're hoping that there are individuals out there whose interests align with ours as well, and they would be happy to write us a check.
Well, that is the purpose of the show, right? Raise awareness, help raise support, and obviously the financial contributions as well to underwrite your efforts. And so wrap up with where we can go to learn more. Where can we go to get involved? So website, social media, where would you direct us to get involved with Intunity?
Our story is fairly well told on the website, intunityhomes.org. But we also partner with the Community Foundation and Live Give through Live Give Mid-South. Our profile is there. You know, the places that folks who want to give money away would go to, we're there. And so, and on our website, there's a link to the Community Foundation profile, the profile on the Community Foundation. So you could start at the website and then branch from there for those who, or just call me or send me an email. It's ESCHWARZ, Schwarz at intunityhomes.org. And I'm going to give out my cell phone too, because I'll be happy to take a call from somebody who wants to write us a check. 901-216-4790. We were very fortunate to find an individual just yesterday who prefers to remain anonymous, but just yesterday delivered a very nice check to us. And we were very grateful for that. And it will we'll have our gratitude forever.
Well, the website, intunityhomes.org, that's INTUNITY, homes.org. Earle, thank you for all you and your amazing team do to power the good. Thank you for coming on the show.
Thanks for having me, Jeremy. I appreciate it. It's been fun.
Higginbotham Insurance and Financial Services is proud to power the City Current Show. We're a people-first company that protects what matters most, the families, businesses, and trailblazers that keep our community going. As one of the nation's top independent insurance firms, Higginbotham is a single-source solution for business insurance, employee benefits, HR services, and personal insurance that's customized for you. We're here to serve you, the people you care about, and your community. Call 866-377-1959 or visit higginbotham.com.